Have you ever wanted to see all of your favorite designers just being mercilessly tier ranked in a giant dueling tier rank list? Of course you have. You come here to see blood in our tier ranking coliseum. You want to know if Feld will be able to defeat Jamey Stegmaier. You want to know if Vlad will show mercy to Kramer. That's what you're here for. And what we've done today is we have dual lists. We each have our own tier list. So we're each going to rank where we think the designer should end up. And then as an average, we'll put it in the computer, and then that's what you can see. So we're gonna be ranking 50 different designers, and the way we concocted this list is basically from a really clever formula devised by a Board Game Geek user, and if you want the link, it's in the description. But basically the general premise is this is all the top 50 designers that have the most board games entries in the top 1,000. So it's sort of like a hall of fame of board game designers.
And we're ranking them.
And we're gonna rank them. And some might end up in the D, some might end up in the C, but you have to understand, this is sort of like if we were to go into the Baseball Hall of Fame and just start tier ranking Hall of Famers, right? Like, obviously, all of these board game designers are amazing, right? Like, so if we compared them to regular designers, they're the top of the top, but we're just tier ranking them based on
our personal opinion.
Our personal opinion, exactly. And how they compare to other great board game designers, okay? So, and if you're watching this, you know, if you're Eric Lang or something, and you're watching this for some reason, and you're like, what? I'm not a C, I'm an A. Just understand, it's just our opinion, and it's just in comparison to other brilliant designers. Okay, that's the big caveat. So first up, we have Jamey Stegmaier, a very prolific designer who has done amazing things for the industry. His YouTube channel is like one of my favorite YouTube channels. He just goes into these like deep dives of mechanics, and he's been doing it for like, I don't know, maybe a decade. And when I think Jamey Stegmaier, I'm thinking like Scythe. Scythe was like it was huge. Like you would go online and Scythe was being played everywhere. And for a really good reason. Like it's a really great game. I don't think you like Scythe.
No, I do not.
But I really like Scythe. But you do like Viticulture.
Don't tell me what I like. I do like viticulture.
I'm there with you when you're playing the game.
I like viticulture, and I really like tapestry. Like tapestry, I didn't think I would like, but I really like tapestry. It's viticulture. It's like, I don't know, when we talk to like friends or like family even that aren't really into board games, I'm like, this is a board game about winemaking, and it's really cool.
It's a good sell. We're not the biggest fans of his latest stuff, like Expeditions. We didn't like Expeditions. We have a review of it. You can go check it out.
Yeah. And
so the tier ranking is B.
A for me.
Okay, why A?
Because I feel that all of his games are playable.
Everybody's games are playable, I hope.
Like, even the games that I don't love, that I think they're mid, I would still happily play. You know?
Yeah.
It's like a student, right? He's well-rounded. There are games, of course, I love, and there are games I think they're fine. But there's no really bad ones. Every single one has been
he doesn't really have
good.
Even Charterstone. I don't like Charterstone, but it's decent.
Exactly.
My general reason for B was that like most of his games are not games that I really love. They're not. Well, actually, two of them are in my top 100. Okay, we're gonna average out in an A. Yeah, two of his games are my top 100. It seems silly to put them in a B, I guess. A.
I was right.
This is very scientific listing. You can't get a better tier listing of this than this one. It's so science. Next we have Wolfgang Warsch, and if we're gonna mispronounce names, that is an inevitability. I think I nailed that one. I'm not sure. If you're not familiar, he makes, I think, a lot of like lighter beginner games that are very gateway-ish. They're very beginner friendly. You know, games like Quacks and Taverns, that's pretty clever. They're decent games, but they're not the type of games that we typically play. Except for Quacks, because we have a friend, Mark, and he makes us play it all the time, and I hate it.
But you love Mark.
I love Mark, but I'm starting to hate Quacks. Actually, it's funny, because like, for Quacks, I started off like liking it, and then after about 10 plays, I got annoyed. I was so annoyed. Like, you'd sit, push your luck is fine. But you'd sit there and you'd make a rational decision, and you'd see the person next, and it wouldn't matter, right? Because you would just bust. Whereas the person next to you is making irrational decisions, just willy-nilly pulling them out of the bag, and they're just like, they're going and going and going. And you're like, you should have busted, like, so long ago.
He doesn't like luck-based games.
I like some luck-based game, but this one, it has annoyed me. So I think that might affect where I've placed him. We can reveal. Indeed.
C for me.
C? Okay.
Yeah. I think similarly to you, I find the games too simple.
Yes, games are things that I would crave. Like, I played Wavelength at a convention. And I thought it was like, that's a nice game, but yeah, none of them really.
I feel like it's kind of games that you can go to a board game cafe with people, like, having light time, like just having dinner or drinks and you're having a good time and play on those games. But it's not having games I really need in the collection.
So we'll average that out to, well,
C minus.
There's no minuses.
I can bring it down to a D.
Yeah, I'm not moving. I'm keeping him in a D. Sorry, Wolfgang. I'm bringing you down to a D. And next up, we have Kristian Ostby, who is a very good designer. I mean, they're all really good designers. That's why they're on the list in the first place. Who was responsible for Escape and Revive and The Magnificent, Bad Company. I really appreciate that he seems to have a good breadth of different types of games. Like, Bad Company is nothing like Revive, which is nothing like Escape. That is always appreciated. You know, because sometimes you play, or sometimes you have certain designers where the games all start to feel a little samey. He's not guilty of that. You know, I think Revive is we have a review out, actually. You could check it out. Very decent game. We didn't love it, but we did like it. We liked it.
I'm proud of it too, is the amount of board games we have tried and the amount of board games available now. There's so many out there that, like, if you're trying to get into that type of board game, it's more serious and stuff, you're really competing with a lot of greats.
Yeah.
So it's hard to be very unique.
And Escape is like a major staple in this house. Whenever we, end of the night, we want to revitalize people.
But I would say it's my favorite party type game because it's so different. Like, you put on like the soundtrack for it, and for rolling dice, and there's like actual time constraints. Everyone like really gets into it. So
Bad Company is kind of my favorite of all that, like Machi Koro type. I don't know what it's called, like the dice placement type games. All right, so where I place them, C.
B for me.
Okay, why B?
Why B?
Yeah.
Because we like some of his games, and like I said, there's so much variety.
I own 3 or 4 of them. That's true.
And it's not just owning them, because we own many games that we don't pull out very often. But Escape and Bad Company specifically, we pull out so frequently. Anytime we have friends that are like not serious board gamers, we pull them out. Okay. At least one of the 2 of them, 100%.
Maybe I'm being too harsh. All right.
You are.
All right. You can go to a B. We'll move to a B. Next is Martin Wallace, an incredibly prolific designer. This guy produces, I think, a game every single year. And when you're that prolific, when you're like the Stephen King of board game designs, you have a tendency to make some really great games and then some games that just like nobody has ever heard of and they're not that great. And of course, he had like the #1 game on Board Game Geek for the longest time. I love Brass. I think it's just a brilliant game. Whether it's Lancaster or Birmingham, they're both really good games. You don't like Brass? No, she doesn't like Brass, and she doesn't like his other game that I really love, which is Anno. Both those games are in my top 100. But I love Anno 1800. I think it's funny because like it's one of those games where when I first played it, I was like, wow, this seems really tedious. And then after the second time, I was like, this is brilliant. There's just something about it, about like the way you interact with other players and like seeing what they're building. But like, okay, he's building that, so I don't have to build that. I can focus on this.
I do like that you can share the resources, the staple resources to build the more advanced ones. That is a cool mechanism. I do like that.
Yeah, and it captures the video game like really well. You've never played the video game, but it captures the essence of the video game really well. And his other games are good too. Railways of Nippon are like, it's okay. Steam's really good, whether it's Age of Steam or just regular Steam. regular
Steam.
Yeah, more like a train route building game. I think it's brilliant. Study of Emerald, a few Gears of Snow, a brilliant 2-player game. You have never played it, unfortunately, but I've played it a bunch at conventions. It's a lot of fun, really underrated. I wish more people knew about it. I put him at A. Oh, I think I put it upside down. A. Would you C? Why?
I don't like any of his games.
Oh my lord.
Every time you or our other friend Michael brings up like, oh, I want to play Anno, I'm like, really? And I have won that game too, and I still felt like, oh, I don't want to play this.
Okay.
It's not my cup of tea. Not my cup of tea. He clearly loves it.
We should have veto powers where it's like, we're putting him at this one. We get veto powers.
One veto.
One
veto.
What about like 3 vetoes?
One veto.
1 veto power. We're doing 50 designers and we get 1 veto?
Yes. Then you can really show how much that opinion really changes. So we can average it out to a B.
All right, we'll have it out to a B. I can't.
Or you can.
I'm not ready. I'm not ready for a veto because I don't know. Like, what if she puts like my favorite designer? It's like, oh, he's a D. then I'm going to have to veto that. All right. I'm sorry, Wallace. I tried. I fought for you. I fought so hard. You see us at a convention, just you get mad at her. I think you're awesome. Even Hidzy Road. Is it Hidzy Road? Even that I think is... I don't like that game, but it's okay.
Make a game that I like and not refer.
I think you like London. London's actually pretty good. All right, he's
actually pretty good. Is what you said.
He's a B. Up next, we have Kris Burm. He is also a pretty prolific designer. All of his games are, in my eyes, very similar. Like if you look at just the box art alone, you'd be like, is this just the same game over and over again? Now, I haven't played all of his games. I've played Yiddish, Zertz, and Czar. And when I reflect upon them right now, because this was years ago, I cannot tell you the distinct difference between each of these. You know how content creators with this thing, well, they'll be like, it's not for me, it's for you. And they're sort of like hedging their bets to sort of like not say something too critical. I think he sort of encapsulates that for me, because I don't like abstract games for the most part. I don't like super abstract games.
I cannot comment because
She's never played. She's never played. Because I don't like it, I don't bring them home. What's funny is that I think you'd actually like his games. I think you would actually really like his games.
I have to point out, this is exactly who Mike is as a person. You will like it, so I would not bring it home.
I'm not generous when it comes to board games. I'm bringing home games that I know I'll like, and then if you happen to like them, that's great.
Look, it's everything in life, not just board games.
Oh, no, it's not. So it should come as no surprise. Kim did not rank it, obviously, because she's never played one of his games. I gave it a D. I gave him a D. I'm sorry. His games, they're not for me. I don't like.
I use my single veto.
You can. You haven't even played his game. You can't use a veto on a designer you've never played, experienced. And so up next, we have Eric Lang. Eric Lang, I see, is sort of walking in the footsteps of all those great Ameritrash game designers that came before him, and he's sort of carrying on the torch. I, of course, love Blood Rage. Blood Rage, I think, is the best of those three games that are all kind of similar. And Arcade Academy is probably your favorite of the bunch, which is a game you've probably never heard of, but it's
so cute and so nice.
It's a good game. Like, I still own it. It's a good game. Nobody talks about it. It was
underrated.
And Wilson that designed it, I believe.
So underrated.
It's good. It's good. It's not amazing, but it is good. And of course, he had a hand in designing, like, Game of Thrones, the card game, which is one of my favorite. No, it is my favorite card game. Marvel United. Both of us don't really like Marvel United. Yeah, we bought it because it's cute as hell.
It gives it as lots of people too.
Yeah, it's the little chibi things, but it's just kind of like, as a cooperative game, it's kind of bland.
I also don't like co-op games, so.
That's true too. And so part of what's influencing my rankings is that, like, he has these really great games, and then just a lot of games that I'm actually gonna get flack for saying this, but like a lot of games just feel like they're phoned in terms of like the design. Like they just seem so bland and boring. So I put Eric Lang at a B. It's still good though. B is still pretty good.
For how negative you were, I thought it'd be higher. I put him at a C.
You mean lower? You
yeah.
A C? No, because he's still like, he has a good history of like making some really quality games. I haven't been really impressed with any of the new stuff, like the Godfather game. Like a lot of his newer stuff, I'm just not impressed by.
I like how we cherry pick when a wholesome type of like ranking. I only like one game of his, so.
Yeah, and even like Mass Effect. I actually played Mass Effect recently for my end of the year tier ranking video, and it's not good. It's so mediocre. So yeah, would you give him a C?
Yeah.
What do you think, B or C?
We can give him a B. I've played less of his games, and I said, and a lot of things are not for me, so.
B it is. Up next is Rob Daviau. Rob Daviau is like the campaign guy. He designs these board games that are almost always exclusively these big, long, overarching campaign games. And
you sound so excited.
I don't like campaign games. I just don't, because like a lot of times the stories are never particularly good. I don't want to play a game over and over and over and over and over again. I won't remember the story in between plays. So if we go, let's say a month, or let's say a couple months, we tried Gloomhaven, for example. We were just like, just couldn't remember what happened last time, and nobody cared. It was the same thing with like Cthulhu, Death Must Die, and Risk Legacy. Risk Legacy was pretty good, and it's pretty much the only one that I really enjoyed, because it was kind of like not the Godfather, but one of the first like legacy style games. but I'm not a big Pandemic fan either, and you've never played any of Rob Daviau's games. So this is going to be a solo ranking. Are you ready for it? It's a D. It's a D. It's a D. Sorry, Rob. And even just like in terms of creativity, you know, they're not his games. Like, talk
about reinventing the wheel.
Pandemic is a Leacock game. No, it's his game. Risk obviously isn't his game. You know, he's just sort of adding these campaigns. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm gonna stick him in D. Up next is Matthias Cramer, the designer of games like Rococo and Kraftwagen, if you can just say it like that, and Lancaster and Glenmore, Watergate. Aside from Watergate and Rococo, most of his games I don't really enjoy. Again, he's one of these designers that makes games that I won't say no to, but they're not games that I particularly crave. Rococo is really, it is good. It's a really good game. It's a fun, you know, worker placement game where you're sort of building your dresses and stuff.
Is it good? I don't know. It's my ranking to see.
And Watergate is also good, but Watergate is like, we played Watergate a lot, and then I feel like we just kind of stopped. Like, we had our fun with it, and we kind of stopped playing it. Yeah.
But it's not the kind of game where you can play again and again and again and again.
No, it didn't feel like that. It wasn't as, obviously it's a lighter version of something like Twilight Struggle, but it just didn't have the legs, you know, the long,
I don't know
how else to word that, the long legs.
It's more similar to those games. I don't know if you remember, like, we have friends that brought them over as well, where it's like you rip things open for the one time. You play those
comparing
games.
it to an escape game?
No, but like, those are like more mystery type games, not an escape game. But yeah, it's another thing that kind of like the same feeling of like you're trying to solve a mystery kind of thing. You try to put pieces together. It's like a couple times play kind of game.
Okay, that is the wackiest comparison, but I get where you're going. I get what you're saying. Even Kraftwagen, I owned that. That was like one of the early games I owned. I owned it for a long time. I played it a decent amount, and then after a while, it just started to feel like it showed its age. If you're not familiar, it's like it's a I can't remember if it's a worker placement game, but you go around and you're sort of trying to build automobiles, and it's okay. But right now, it's not something I would ever want to play again. So for that, I would give him a C.
I gave him an A.
An A? You like Rococo and Watergate that much?
I told you, I really liked the two games. Rococo, we don't even own it, but we did play it.
We play it a lot, like at a friend's house.
Yeah. Like if your close friends own it, like why bother buying it too? You can play it there.
All right.
And yeah, I really liked it.
We'll average out at a B. I think that's a fine place. Up next is Chvatil, one designer that I would be comfortable ranking as like a genius. I think he's a design genius. Like I
know what your ranking is now.
It should be pretty obvious. His games, he's like the Ohtani of board game design. You know, the baseball player? And he plays like the pitcher and the batter, but like he pitches and he bats, except like Vlad would be like the guy playing the catcher and one of the mascots and the outfield. He'd be doing everything because his games are they're so different. Like none of them play anything like the other ones. He's got code names, which has now become like huge. Like it is everywhere. It's the kind of game where you can buy it at Walmart or a Target. Good reason. It's a great party game. Mage Knight is it is the best fantasy game. All these games try to come out, they try to capture what is Heroes of Might and Magic. The only one that is successful, and I've played the newest one, the only one that's successful is Mage Knight. Mage Knight is amazing. Through the Ages is the greatest board game that has ever been made. And Galaxy Trucker, even Galaxy Trucker, there's a lot of people that hate Galaxy Trucker, and I totally understand why. But even
I hate it.
Yeah,
it's fun.
It's fun. It's just a fun game. So, I mean, for me...
Also, like, important to note, Through the Ages is his top favorite board game of all time. So, have you told him about the little heart on the board?
No. I give him heart. He's the heart. So we've decided that we're going to...
A for me.
No.
What do you mean no?
Why would you put him an S?
I said...
You like all his games.
Not as much as you.
So we made one ranking that's heart. So that's the heart over there. You're allowed to put one designer in the heart tier. So Vlad, you get the heart tier.
Was it a wink or a kiss or like what was it?
I'm blowing him a kiss heart. No, he's so good. Why would you only give him? What'd you give him?
A.
So what is that? Do we average out to an S? We average out to an S. I'm okay with that.
Oh, the heart is a unique
True.
position.
Nope, he averages out to an S.
Sure, but he's still like your heart. He's still
you only get one. And next is Xavier Georges. which I probably also just butchered your pronunciation. I apologize. He, of course, made Carnegie. Carnegie, I think both of us really enjoy Carnegie.
Speak for yourself. I loved it.
Yeah, you like Carnegie. Carnegie is a lot of fun. Gingopolis is a game that a lot of other people love, but I'm not the biggest fan of. But it is a good game. I see that it is a good game.
I think I agree with that. I think it's very solid. This is not my cup of tea.
Yeah, for me, it's one of those things. It's not really a memorable game. Carson City, you've never played, which is actually you wouldn't like Carson City. It's a worker placement game, but it's like one of those worker placement games that came really early that taught me that worker placement doesn't necessarily mean just like, oh, I'm just putting my workers out and doing my own thing. No, because you can like challenge other people and fight them and knock them off their spots. It's fun. It's engaging. I really like it. And Trois, of course, is one of the best 3-player dice placement games. No, it's one of the best 3-player games like ever. You've never played that one either. I actually own it. That's a crime. Why haven't you played it? I own it.
Blame yourself.
Okay, I'll blame myself. Yeah, he's just a really good designer that has made a ton of bangers. People say bangers, right? Cap?
Okay, boomer.
No, cap is bad.
No cap.
No cap?
Yeah, no lie.
What do people say when they want to say that's good? Banger.
No cap just means no lie. Like I'm being serious. Like I'm
Oh yeah, it's a banger. Cap.
No cap.
It's a banger. Cap.
Cap means a lie.
Nah, that's sus. All right. I put Xavier A.
So did I.
Oh, nice. Our first crossover.
High five.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you tell me why. I did most talking there.
Well, you do most talking, period.
True.
Well, my biggest impression with him is Carnegie, and it's just so good.
Yeah.
It's so good that no matter how complex it is, we never get bored, and
I always win. I've
That's
never
the
lost a
that's the
game of
worst.
Carnegie. I play
I'm
online.
devoting him
I play
to
in
the B
person.
now.
I have never lost a game. I am so good at like knowing exactly what everybody's gonna do on their turn that I'm always prepped and ready for when they pick the action they want. That I'm good. To go.
I'm moving you.
No,
to
it's
B.
too late, and that's what he gets.
But
He
even
gets
though
an
I keep
A.
losing in this game, it's still so fun.
It is a really good game, yeah. And up next is Isaac Childres. He made, of course, Gloomhaven, Frosthaven, Return to the Dark Tower, a lot of, Jaws of the Lion, a lot of games that are sort of derivatives of Gloomhaven, aside from the Dark Tower. She's never played them. There was a long time where my buddies and I, we got together, we decided to take an honest crack at Gloomhaven, and it surprised me at first because like I said, I'm not a campaign gamer, but I was really shocked by the combat system. The combat system I thought was really well done for a board game, but it was one of those things where we just, over time, we just forgot what the hell we were doing and we just didn't care. I can respect the game and I acknowledge that it's a really good game. But yeah, his games, they're just not for me. I don't want to play Gloomhaven in a 2-player format like Jaws of the Lion. I don't want to play Frosthaven, which is just Gloomhaven. It's just in Return to the Dark Tower is decent. He's not designing games that I'm interested in. Kim, of course, never played any of his, so it'll just be my ranking, which is a C. It's a C. I give him a C. How do you feel about that?
I agree.
She has no choice to agree. Yeah. So we'll give him a C. So next is Ignacy Trzewiczek. Again, designer who makes primarily Euro games, but they're Euro games with a lot of theme, Games like Robinson Crusoe, still one of my favorite cooperative games. She hates it, but you hate most cooperative games. But I like Robinson Crusoe.
This one in particular.
No, Robinson Crusoe is great because like it's just such a struggle. It's such a struggle.
Yeah.
And that's what makes cooperative games. For me, that's what makes cooperative games fun. When I feel like I'm just like getting pounded with my friends. Oh, that sounds weird. We're just getting beat up by my friends in a game. And it just feels like, because you feel like you overcome something grand. And whenever you win at that game, it feels like you've overcome something.
I haven't won at that game.
I probably won once or twice. And Imperial Settlers.
That makes top 10 for me.
Imperial Settlers is a really good game. And Stronghold, which is a great 2-player game. Again, super thematic, asymmetrical. Even lesser known games like Pret-a-Porter. Pret-a-Porter's like, you're building a dress. I don't like it as much as Rococo, not that they're in competition, but they both build dresses. So yeah, he gets an A.
I gave him a B.
A B?
Because I really don't like Robinson Crusoe.
Yeah, that's true.
And again, it's my opinion, right? But I love Imperial Settlers. So like, if he didn't make Robinson Crusoe, he might have been an S tier.
Okay, well, we're gonna put him at A. We're gonna use my ranking because I played more of his games. You only played one of his games. No, 2 of them.
3.
Oh yeah, 3. We're gonna pick A. Just because reasons. I told you, this is the most scientifically advanced ranking system you've ever seen. Up next is Uwe Rosenberg, a man who, now this man is prolific. This man just like pumps out games. I wasted the Stephen King analogy previously. This man is the Stephen King of board game design. The problem I have is that like a lot of his games just start feeling the same. My favorite of the bunch is probably Caverna. I really enjoy Caverna. I think it is one of the better worker placement games. And I like it a lot more than I like Agricola. And I like it a lot more than I like Feast for Odin. Feast for Odin, I don't like the polynomial crap playing down the tiles. I think it's stupid. Like I just don't care. Patchwork is like super popular, I think. And as a 2-player game, it's decent. It's decent. It's not a game that I ever crave. Where I'm like, yeah, let's play some Patchwork. But it's one of those games where you're like, I guess we'll play some Patchwork. I don't know. Can't think of it.
I would never reach for Patchwork myself.
Oh, it's pretty decent though.
Like someone else brings something, like, sure, I will play it.
The Hob is pretty good. But yeah, a lot of his games, they just
Mid.
they're kind of, I feel they're kind of mid. To me, they feel they're kind of mid. Again, this is our ranking system.
And also, like, I want to add this one thing is that we have so many games, and there's so many fantastic designers out there, so many fantastic games, that I don't want to spend my days and time playing mid games.
The games that are like, yeah, that's a decent game. If a game's just decent, it's not good enough to play. I think this is the one that people are mostly going to be upset by because I know he's very well loved within the industry. And like I said, I respect the fact that he makes a lot of decent
We all love different things.
We do. You see. Oh, also C.
I feel bad. I feel bad when I give.
Too bad he gets a C. Sorry. Next is Rudiger Dorn. Rudiger Dorn has made a ton of, it's one of those designers who has made a ton of the classic type games like Jumbo and Arcadia, Asante, games that I enjoyed at the time, but then now when I think back, they're just not games that I ever want to play again.
Oof.
Yeah, except for Istanbul. Istanbul is a classic, I think. Is one of those games that I feel is pretty timeless. It's something that it has a few mechanics in it that I'm not seeing replicated in other games, and it's just an easy game to teach. It's an easy game to play, but it has enough depth there to keep you engaged the entire time. I think you like Istanbul, right?
I feel like I want to show my ranking first and let that speak.
Okay, okay.
You know?
Yeah, and even Karuba is a pretty decent game. If you're not familiar with Karuba, it's almost like, you call it the bingo letters, and then everybody grabs the same tile, and you can choose where you want to lay it down, and then your adventurer kind of goes up this little thing to get gems. It's also pretty decent. You'll notice I'm using decent a lot to describe Rudiger's games because I give him a C.
Give him an A.
What? An A?
I told you you'd be surprised.
Yeah, why A? Just for Istanbul?
Yeah.
It is really good. I love Istanbul.
It's hard to say. It's like for some designers, like they're good games that you like, but it's not, you don't love so much. It pulls up all the other games in the average. But him specifically, I like this game so much that it pulls up the average to an A.
Okay, so he averages out to a B.
I can accept that.
I think that's acceptable. Istanbul is that good. And next is Bruno Cathala, the absolute king of like family-friendly, lighter games.
The Stephen King?
No more Stephen King analogies. He's the king of family-friendly games.
Stephen.
Yeah, no Stephen King. But man, Five Tribes is a brilliant game. Like I wish they really liked it, but when we started playing it just 2 players, I realized, oh wow, this is really brilliant.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I think the first time I played it with you was
multiplayer.
Yeah, it was with a bigger group. Probably 3 or 4 people.
Yeah. It was a party. It was a giant raving party.
That's parties to us, 4 people. Oh my gosh. But when we played 2 players, I don't know if you remember, but I started like asking for the game in particular. So I should talk about like what game we want to play, and I was like specifically the game with the snails, and he'd be like, "It's not snails."
I don't know why she thought there were snails.
It looks like snails to me.
But yeah, like it just adds like a new element, like being able to decide the draft order. Like it's such a huge game changer. And there's other games too, like Cyclades. If you haven't played that. You've never played that, but I actually did a tutorial of it. The newest one, the Legendary Edition that comes out. It's another great game. Red Planet's really good. It's really like in your face, take that style of game.
I don't like that.
No?
I don't like that style of game.
You wouldn't like Jamaica either. Yeah. Jamaica's also really good. It's like you're pirates and you're racing around this like circle and like you're shooting people and attacking people. No, he makes such good family-friendly games.
Dice Town. I love Dice Town.
Dicetown is also really good. Yeah, Dicetown. Kanagawa was also pretty, that's just decent. That one's one of the ones that's just decent. And of course, Shadows over Camelot you would hate because it's cooperative and it is fairly basic, but it's one of like the OG co-op
But I haven't
games.
played it. Okay, so for him specifically, I think it's one. Some games he knows I would not like.
Yeah.
I haven't played. So the ones I have played, you'll see my ranking and understand.
Bruno to me is a easy S. Easy
It's an S for me.
Oh,
too.
nice. Our first S.
All the game, yeah, my first S.
Well, our first join.
Both
Yeah.
of our first S.
Well, Vlad, I put it.
Wow. So you put him as a heart. It's different.
That's true. Okay, so he gets an
S is a whole tier, whereas heart is just one and only.
Yeah, he just makes great games. He's one of those designers that shows you that light doesn't necessarily mean shallow.
All boring.
Yeah, like they're light, yes, but there's like depth there.
Yes.
Like, yes, 5 tribes, I could teach 5 tribes like that. It's so easy to understand. But once you start playing and you're playing with somebody who's experienced, you're gonna get smoked. Like every single time you're playing against someone who's experienced. I win all the time. Yay! 5 tribes, 5 tribes. Up next is Jason Matthews. Jason Matthews is, maybe this is reducing him somewhat. He's just kind of like the Twilight Struggle guy to me. Like Twilight Struggle, brilliant game. 1960 Making of the President, brilliant game. You've never played them, but they're just like amazing 2-player games. Your Campaign Manager, Founding Fathers, these are all fantastic games, but they all sort of feel very similar. Very, very similar. And, that's okay. That's okay. Like Twilight Struggle, like I said, is one of the best games ever made. But for me, he's a C. He's a C. I have to put him in a C.
I concur.
Well, you never played any of his games. We actually should play 1960 Making of the President. I think it's sort of like a stripped down version of Twilight Struggle, somewhat. But I do think you would enjoy it because, well, you like Watergate. Watergate's sort of like a really similar system, just this is much more, not complex, but has a much more depth. That's all. So yeah, he's going to be at a C. So up next we have Scott Almes. Scott Almes is like the Tiny Epic guy. He makes this series of games called Tiny Epic whatever. These games are not games that I enjoy. They're typically of a lighter fare. Most of his games are of lighter fare, with the exception of maybe Kings of Air and Steam, which is... It's a pretty decent pick up and deliver game. I'm not the biggest fan, and you've never played it. It's actually, I think I have it in my collection, and it was something I tried to sell like 6 or 7 years ago, and nobody bought it. So, yeah. But like, I don't know, Beer and Bread. We actually did a review of Beer and Bread. It was like a food compilation video. Now, nobody watched it, but you should check it out. I promise it's good. We put so much work into it. It's really good.
It's not bad. It's not a bad game at all.
It's a good 2-player game, and there's some clever mechanics in there.
Exactly. It's a decent game, but it's not an amazing game. It's not going to blow your mind. It's not going to be like the most unique thing ever. It's amazing.
For that reason, he ends up in a D.
He's a D of mine too.
Sorry, Scott. I know people really love the Tiny Epic series, but like I said, it's just not for us. We just don't.
Tiny, not epic.
Definitely not epic. We just don't play those styles of games. So yeah, Scott ends up in a D. And up next we have Corey Konieczka. He is one of the godfathers of Ameritrash games. One of the early designers from Fantasy Flight days when I used to get these like Fantasy Flight used to come with these little. They probably still do. Pamphlets or something, and I treated that stuff like it was like the Sears catalog when I was a kid, the Sears Wish catalog, where like you would just pour over this little catalog of games wondering what's coming out next. And it was so good. All his games, if there was any good game coming out from Fantasy Flight, it had his name on it. Absolutely had his name on it. Like Mansions of Madness is brilliant, that's a newer one. Star Wars Rebellion is brilliant. He solo designed Rune Wars. That is the type of game where you get like a conglomerate of different designers while working on the same thing. He did that stuff solo. He is an easy S tier. He is an easy S tier. Like easy S tier. Even Tide of Iron. Tide of Iron, like a lesser known thing, but Tide of Iron is still like a really brilliant game. Would you give him?
A D.
Based on what? Why would you give him a D?
I don't like fantasy type games.
Yeah, but the games are so good. They're like the best. Like
I'm still caught up on what you do with Sears catalogs.
No, I mean, like when you were a kid, you know what I'm talking. When you were a kid at home, there was like this Sears catalog that would come in. This is a Canadian thing, maybe. But like it was a once a year near Christmas time, and you'd get it and you kind of pour over like, oh, I want this for Christmas. That's what it was like with Fantasy Flight, the booklet. I'd get it and be like, oh, I want this. Oh, it was so good. But all those games, they're all Corey's games. He's the king. S. You give him a D. All right, well, I guess I got to veto that. That's ridiculous. I'm not equaling out and putting Corey in like a C or like a B. That's stupid. All right, well.
But to be fair, it's more like the themes of his games that I don't like more than... Like, if you don't like for me, I'm very like
Mage Knight,
invested.
though. That's fantasy. That's pure fantasy.
I don't think I like it as much as you do. Remember how I said it was too much fantasy?
Yeah, I guess. All
I
right,
literally said, my commentation literally was like, the con was just too, it's too...
well, the King of Ameritrash gets an S. He will be my veto, I guess. Ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Let her know in the comment section how ridiculous that is. And tell us about the Sears catalog. You know what I'm talking about.
I thought you looked at bras in the Sears catalog.
That was between you and me. That was the bras when I was a little kid. We didn't have internet access to various... All right. We'll cut that out. When I was a kid, you don't have access to the internet in the same way. It didn't really exist. And so you had like the
so shocking.
It's an S. And next is Virginio Gigli, the man who co-designed Grand Austria Hotel and of course designed First Rat, Gollum, and Coimbra. Most of his games that aren't Grand Austria Hotel, I don't like. I don't really like First Rat. I didn't really enjoy.
I liked it.
Did you really?
Yeah,
didn't like it at
I
all.
love rat games.
Okay.
I love rats.
Yeah, I don't know. First Rat to me, I remember playing it, and near the end of it, I was sort of like, wait, was that it? Is that all this game is? Like going up this little track thing?
But I really liked that game. I thought it was like really simple, but it's still...
It's a decent family game, and it is well loved in the community. Like I see a lot of people putting this on lists. Like First Rat is
spiced up snakes and ladders. You go up a ladder.
I don't know if that's a compliment, but I don't like it. And I like Grand Austria Hotel. I think we both like you like it.
I love Grand Austria
Yeah, it's a great game. But the problem is like, I guess we're encountering this problem a lot. It was where you have a lot of these games that we like or have co-designers. So it's like this person and this person, and we don't really know who put in most of the effort. If it was like a group project thing where one guy just kind of sits off to the side and like, I don't know, sure, whatever. But so we're just going to assume that every co-designed game is just a 50-50 split, even though it probably isn't. But for me, that one game that I enjoy, it's not enough to bring him above a D. What'd you do?
He's an A.
A?
I've only played First Rat and Grand Austria Hotel. It's such a cute game. It's such like for us, like a Sunday afternoon, have a cup of coffee and play the game.
Well, we have no middle here, so I'll meet you higher up on yours, and we'll leave him at a B.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll give him a B.
Didn't have to use my veto.
And speaking of teaming up to make games, we have Shem Phillips and S.J. Macdonald. So there's only another entry on this list that I've decided just to jam the two designers together.
Which I think is not fair. Like
Why? Oh, Shem Phillips does have, I think, more solo design cred to his name than S.J.
Yeah, because individual people.
Yeah.
Like, when we have this channel together, we both have individual credit to things.
Yeah, true.
But it's okay. But it's okay.
I put them together.
I understand why he did this.
Most of the games that we really like, it's them together.
Or like or don't like, they're together.
Because we really like the Paladin series. That's, I think, or the West Kingdom series. Paladins is probably our favorite. I think we like Paladins.
Again, speak for yourself.
The Viking series was I can't remember the North Sea series. I'm not a big fan of the North Sea series. It's kind of like the lighter stuff. I like the heavier stuff, like Inventions. So I just played Inventions pretty recently. I didn't love it. You haven't played it yet. I don't think you'll love it, but you do love Wayfarers. And that's probably I think that is my favorite Shem Phillips S.J. Macdonald game. Their games can be summarized as just constant reward bombardment, where like it feels like not necessarily there's no wrong choice, but no matter what choice you're making, you're getting stuff. You're just constantly getting stuff. You're getting those dopamine hits all the time. And that sort of typifies their games. And that's really fun. That's really fulfilling. But
That's star ratings.
yeah, all that to say, I talked to them so much, but then I put them in a B.
Put them as an S tier.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling maybe a B is too low.
Exactly. I put them as an S tier because we may not love all their games, but I think they do their like signature style of the game really well. I think a lot of like games that have very unique mechanisms, you can tell when it's a game that's designed by them.
You can.
And
But
so
not even the fact that they have the same illustrator. It's just like as you're playing, it just feels
exactly.
like
And the whole
like
like
a style.
the whole that's what I'm saying, the whole dopamine hit thing. Like yes, that's part of it, but there's a whole style that I think is so
That's true.
unique and a
That's pretty
whole
cool. Yeah.
them take.
All right.
And I think as like whether or not you like that particular game, that particular theme and execution of that one,
Yeah.
regardless of that, as designers, I think they're so unique.
Okay. All right. You sold me. We'll bump it up to an A. And speaking of designers that have a very distinct style, we have Stefan Feld. Stefan Feld is like the king of point salad games. If you were playing a game where halfway through you're kind of like, what are we doing? Why does any of this matter? What's the theme of this? And then somebody quickly reminds you, get points. That's a Stefan Feld game.
You're the one that reminds somebody get points.
Just get points.
What's the point of this game? What's the goal?
It doesn't matter. Points.
Make your points.
Yeah. Our favorite, of course, being Castles of Burgundy. Castles of Burgundy, one of our go-to two-player games. It's just a lot of fun. It's chill. It feels relaxed kind of playing it.
Yeah, I think we have a good set number of games that have become like classics in our household.
Complete contrast to something like In the Year of the Dragon, where it's, feels very punishing. Bora Bora is, of course, really good. Trajan is a classic. He makes a lot of great games. A lot of his games, just like Marrakesh, they start to bleed together for me, and they all kind of feel. Yeah, I mean, like mechanically, there's lots of differences, but for whatever reason, they start to all feel samey to me.
I really enjoy. I remember
you liked that a lot more than I did.
I remember when we first played it, that we were at our friend's place, and right after we played, we were talking about it, and I was like, I really liked it. He was like, you did? I really didn't.
You really like the city series too, like Amsterdam and I don't know, all those other city games. I didn't like them.
I like traveling. I am
like traveling for victory points. Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan, but he's still, obviously to most people, he's probably like an S or A at the least, but to me, he is a B. It's a B designer.
Me too.
Oh, okay. B is still really good.
Yeah, he's
this is B.
For
this is a Hall of Fame B, okay? This isn't like a regular B. It's a Hall of Fame B. So, okay. So it means it a B. Next is Cole Wehrle, a designer who seems to, in my opinion, kind of felt like he came out of nowhere after Root. And it's just been putting out these just bangers, like games that just people are falling in love with. Root, there are like channels on YouTube entirely dedicated to Root with follower counts that are far exceed our own, and all they make are Root videos. Like, this has become a huge classic. PAX Premier is really good. It's really good. You haven't played it yet, but it's really good. Oath, I'm not the biggest fan of Oath, but it's a decent game. John Company is brilliant. Arcs, I just did a few playthroughs of Arcs for the end of the year tier list, and it's like, it is almost as good as a lot of people say. It's one of those divisive games where like a lot of people seem to really love it, a lot of people seem to really hate it. I really enjoy it. I think Cole is a great designer, and I love the fact that his designs feel really creative, and that to me is really important when I'm deciding like whether or not I really love a designer, whether or not I'm going to be excited for the next game, and I am always excited for his next games. So for me, I put him at an A.
Yeah, I didn't feel the same way.
Yeah, I guess if you don't like Root, that's kind of like its defining game.
Like you said, I've been playing this other game, so maybe I'll feel differently once I've tried something else.
We'll probably do, you know what, we'll probably do a review of Arcs. And I think, Arcs can be kind of confrontational. I don't think she'll like Arcs. We're going to review it though, because I really want to get played.
Fantastic. More games I don't like. This will make my review of him better.
All right, well, I guess we'll average out at a B. My veto's gone. I'm sorry, Cole. My veto's gone. Here's a B. Next is Paolo Mori, a designer who primarily makes lighter games. He made one of my favorite 5-player games. Whenever I have 5 people, it's the game I bust out, is Libertalia. Libertalia, I think, is a brilliant game. I love it. I love how like it sort of takes citadels and just distills it to the fun part, which is like trying to decide what roles people have taken.
I don't love it. I don't love it. I think it's very unique.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of it's like because it's very unique. It's interesting. It allows for some strategic play or pretty much guessing. Like you don't have to have people that love board games to play that game.
True.
But I don't know. It just doesn't like scratch an itch. It's
fair.
Not satisfying to play for me.
Yeah, and for me, like that's the game that I really like from him. His other games are like Blitzkrieg and Caesar, which they're good games. Those are very good lighter games, but they're not games that I crave. And Captain Flip, I just started playing. Oh my God, I'm playing the crap out of it on Board Game Arena because it's like a 5-minute game, but it's just so incredibly random. It's so random. I think I stick him at a C.
Oh,
He's
also at a C for me.
Yeah, I think that works. He's a good designer, but I don't think a lot of his stuff is particularly amazing. It's just
sort of like end of night stuff, you know, you're winding down, you want to play another game. Yeah, we must see.
Next, we have Christian Petersen, another of these like godfathers of Ameritrash gaming. This is a man who, you know, single-handedly made Twilight Imperium the most epic, grand board game of all time, at least the first edition, and Game of Thrones, the board game. Brilliant games. Yeah, this is a guy who's provided so many people with so many amazing stories and just great times. For me, the only thing, I put him at an A. The only thing keeping him from an S is that he doesn't seem to be doing a lot of work now, which, yeah, I don't want to, yeah. To me, in terms of Fantasy Flight designers, I think, well, let me know in the comment section what you think. I kind of feel like Corey's at the top, and then right under him would be Christian Petersen, I think. But let me know if I'm wrong. Solid A designer, 100%. He provided me and my friends with tons of great memories. We love the shit of Game of Thrones and the Twilight Imperium. We played so much. We'll get you to play it eventually. Good 8-hour game.
So excited.
Next is Thomas Lehmann, the maker of the hugely successful Race for the Galaxy and the one that we actually prefer more, Roll for the Galaxy. Two brilliant games. He is an incredibly creative designer who is always bringing in new ideas into the hobby, which is kind of a breath of fresh air for a hobby that can sometimes feel a little stagnant. His games are always pretty good. Even Res Arcana. I'm not the biggest Res Arcana fan, but it is a really good game. And Jump Drive is pretty good. St. Petersburg is really good.
I have really fond memories of both Roll and Race for the Galaxy because if you ever get a chance to play with us in person, for some reason, we think very similarly, and often our victory points, a lot of games are very similar too. And in those two games in particular, we often pick the same actions, like turn after turn after turn.
Yeah, we do. But yeah, Race for the Galaxy, it's a freaking classic. Like, it's one of those games. I think most of the games he designs are these types of games where the barrier to entry isn't, it's a little high, I guess, because of the different symbols. But it's not that hard to teach, but there's a huge, like not learning curve, but there's a huge amount of potential for growth as a player. Like, you know, you can get really, really good, sink your teeth into his games and get better and better and better at it. And that's always a lot of fun. But for me, I did put him at a B.
I also put him in a B.
Yeah.
That I think the games are really, really solid games.
For me, I put him at a B just because aside from those two games and maybe Res Arcana, a lot of the stuff I'm just not particularly interested in. So, but we tied up, so we can put him in a B. Next is Ted Alspach. If you haven't heard of him, he's primarily known for designing Suburbia and Castles of the Mad King Ludwig. We actually have both of those games in our collection. I don't know about you, but I like them both. I mean, they're pretty much the same game, but for some reason they feel a little different enough to own both, I think.
I like Suburbia.
Yeah, Suburbia's good.
I really like Suburbia.
Do you like it more than Castles?
Yes.
It's much more involved than Castles. It's much more strategic. Castles feels more like the barrier to entry is far lower and it's more family friendly.
Really?
Oh, for sure.
Suburbia is super beginner friendly as well.
No, because Suburbia, you have to keep track of so much shit. But his other games are, of course, he's known for sort of revitalizing the Werewolf series. I know, obviously, he didn't design Werewolf. That is an old game. But he made Ultimate Werewolf, which a lot of people love. We hate Werewolf. I hate Werewolf. I shouldn't say we. I hate Werewolf.
I used to hate Werewolf.
You like Werewolf because of the one game we played last week?
Yeah, we went to this Halloween party last week, and literally, it was my
We played Ultimate Werewolf.
It was my favorite instance of Werewolf I'd ever played, ever.
It was good. But God, I still don't like it.
Yeah, in general, it's one where Werewolf, I'm like, let's play something else.
And Maglev and Metro, like, it's okay. I wasn't a big fan of. My friend really enjoys it. So for all those, I give Ted a C.
Me too. He's also my C.
Yeah, because he doesn't have tons of games made, and like I said, you know, his two biggest games aside from One Night at Werewolf are kind of derivatives of one another. So I think C is a fine place. And next is the good doctor, everyone's favorite mathematician, Reiner Knizia. Reiner Knizia is incredibly prolific. He has been in the industry for ages. He is still pumping out games. He has made some of the best games from like the early games of board gaming. Tigris and Euphrates,
Brilliant game. I am so displeased with myself for selling it. I should have. Some people were just offering so much money, and then I just sold it because I needed the money. I shouldn't have. I think it's back in print, so I could probably pick it up again. Just an amazing game. Quest for El Dorado. Another great family-friendly game. Unlike Tigris and Euphrates. Raw modern art's a genius auction game. Ingenious. You can speak more about Genius. One of her favorite games. So
I didn't think I was an abstract games person, but it is amazing, fantastic. I think it was the first game that made me, I don't know, that I was just obsessed with. The first game, I don't know how I've been obsessed with this game either, but I think it's just the whole scoring thing, how your score is the lowest.
He loves that mechanic. He uses that in a bunch of stuff.
And I don't know, it was amazing. I love how when you hit the end of the track, you yell ingenious.
No, you don't. That's not in the rule. Oh, is it in the rule book?
I think
Why do I feel like we do it at our house all the time? But I don't think that's in the rules. I'm not sure.
It's a house rule.
We say that when you get it, you have to when you yell ingenious, but I don't think that's in the rules because that makes no sense. The other one is some Samurai, which again has that lowest point total thing. Samurai is so good. I think Samurai is actually probably my favorite of all of Knizia's games.
But regardless of that, he's my heart.
Oh, he's your heart.
We knew that already.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna put up there. Yeah,
he's my favorite.
He's an amazing.
There is no competition. He can do no wrong. I don't love all his games, but he can do no wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't even played all his games. There's so many of them, but he
is the Stephen King of board games.
Probably, yeah. He's an easy yes. And next is John D. Clare, the maker of a game both Kim and I really like, Mystic Vale. John he's a really great designer. We really love Mystic Vale. I didn't like it as well when it was implemented in Dead Reckoning. I don't know if you like Dead Reckoning. Did you?
It was not bad.
Yeah, it didn't feel as good as Mystic Vale. Mystic Vale, I think we liked it a bit more in its distilled form without all the extra gobbledygook crap, like pirate stuff. It was just cooler as just a card building deck builder. It was really clever. Most of his games I would actually typify as pretty clever. Like even Kabutos. We own it. It's behind us. And even that one, I don't know why, but everybody we play with, they all seem to this is
we all love it. Yeah.
And I'm just good. This is boring. I don't like this game.
Really?
Yeah, I don't like it that much. I keep it because everybody else seems to enjoy it. But for me, I don't know. It can be fun. And Space. Kim hasn't played Space. I have. It's pretty good. It's not one that I want to own, but it's definitely one I wouldn't say no to at a convention or something. So for that, I gave John the old B. B.
I gave him an A.
I do like I said, I appreciate his cleverness. So I guess we'll go to an A. And next up is Wolfgang Kramer, a designer that's loved by many people, primarily for Elgrand, which is an area control game, a very pure area control game that I don't really like because I don't like area control games distilled into just area control.
You don't like popular games.
No, I'm not like a board game hipster. I like lots of popular games, but Elgrand is not one of them. The ones I do like, Tories and Tikal, I think are great. Tories is really underrated. Nobody talks about that. But I owned it for the longest time, and this is the worst reason to get rid of a board game, but I got rid of it because the box was too big. I used to have the big one where it was Tikal and Taurus were these big, flat, giant boxes. And I was like, get out of here. Even though I like both of them. It's sort of like Taurus is this abstract strategy game where you're building up little castles and stuff. Whereas Tikal is probably my favorite of all his games, and it's more of an exploration game. But because, I don't like all his games, like Downforce, I know a lot of people love Downforce. I didn't think it was I think there's a lot of better racing games out there. Same with Palaces. I think Palaces was just kind of mid. So I gave him a C. And I'm the only ranking, so there's nothing Kim can do about it.
A veto!
You can't.
I haven't used my veto yet. I don't think so.
No, you haven't. So you
pay yourself.
Just forget about it.
Pay yourself.
So you get to C. Next up is Vladimir Suchy, a designer who will often employ really interesting action selection mechanism and really tight sort of resource economy. In his games, you'll always feel like you're never really doing enough. You're just kind of scraping by. At least that's how I feel. Underwater Cities is a game that I guess I should speak for you. I feel like we both love.
I really like it.
Yeah, okay, we play it quite a bit. Yeah, it was one of those games that sort of like Grand Austria Hotel when we played a multiplayer. It was like, yeah, that's okay. But the second we played it exclusively two players, like, oh, yeah, okay, this is really good. And of course, Praga. Praga's a really great game. It's
I have.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it's that great.
Why not?
It's just mid.
It's just mid.
It does have games like there's nothing particularly wrong with it. You can have
The wheel, cog and stuff. It's really cool, and you get to do the actions, and you get to do a bonus action on the cog.
Yeah.
It's one of those games where like there's a mess of shit going on. The board's like huge, and you're like doing stuff over here, and then you're doing stuff over here. Yeah, it's a conglomerate of stuff all just jammed together.
It's a weird game since I feel like I always win versus you. Like when we play with our friends, I think I win the game more than you do.
Yeah.
But no satisfaction, like low satisfaction from winning that game.
And Woodcraft, I'm not actually a fan.
I like Woodcraft.
You like Woodcraft? Yeah, I'm not fond of it. But Woodcraft is decent. Pulsar we own. Pulsar's a really good game. So for all those things, he's an amazing designer, I think. So I give him an A.
I give him a B.
Why?
So I agree that he's pretty good, but none of his games to me feel like I crave that game ever.
I'm bumping it up to an A.
Sure.
We've given you lots of bumps.
I agree with you that as a designer, he's done a fantastic job of many bangers, but just not my favorites.
Next is Emerson Matsuuchi, the designer behind Reef and Spectre Ops. Spectre Ops is a really solid hidden movement game. Kim doesn't like it. You don't like it, do you?
Not my favorite.
I don't think you're a big fan of hidden movement games, except for like mind management.
I only like hidden movement games when there's some kind of like murder mystery, kind of like
yeah, there's no murder mystery.
There's some kind of like investigative type of.
Yeah, you're not investigating in this one. This one's more like a hunt. It's like The Fugitive. Okay,
Yeah.
you're hunting down one of the players, and he's like hacking terminals and like
That's pretty
you're
cool.
trying to find him. It is cool. Spectre Ops is a really good game. Foundations of Rome, really well loved. Lots of people love it as like the polynomial type stuff. I'm not the biggest fan. I thought it was just an overproduced, but
It's hard because like a lot of the games, like you can see the real value of people love it. It's just not your favorite game. So you can respect someone like, does fantastic work, but it's just not something you're interested in.
yeah, exactly. Sometimes I'll see a game be really ranked highly, and I'll be like, why? I don't understand.
I don't ever wonder why. I'm like, I get
But for
people like it. It's just not me. It's not my.
And I feel the same for Century, his Century series, which is obviously well loved. There are so many renditions of this game, but to me, it just seems relatively basic. I feel unengaged every time I play it. And so for all of that, if you hadn't guessed it by now, I gave him the big D.
Me too.
All right, you got a big D from both of us.
You got a small D for me.
All right, so you get to share D, the double D. And next is Peter Lee, the man behind everybody's introductory worker placement game, except yours. She's never played it. Lords of Waterdeep. For me, Lords of Waterdeep was one of those games where, it was really great when it first came out, and then over time, it just wasn't something. Even with the expansion Skulls of something or other, it didn't revitalize it for me, and so eventually I sold it. But I have a lot of respect for the game, and I cherish it deeply. Not enough though to keep it. So I guess I don't cherish it that much. And of course, he also made Horrified. Horrified is good.
I disagree.
You don't think it's even good? I don't think it's great. I think it's like it's decent.
It's good for some people to want it. Maybe like families, younger kids. Yeah, younger being like 10, not that young. Or I mean, we've played it with friends in like a board game cafe and something like a really chill, light-hearted.
More or less. Yeah, even though there's like a beat 'em up element to it, it is pretty lighthearted. Yeah, and Tyrants of the Underdark was one I played. I think I played at Essen, and I was pretty impressed because I'm not a big area control fan. And this one, it was like area control, and I think a bit of deck building, and it's a really good game. I think it used the Dungeons and Dragons property pretty well. Again, it's not one I think you would enjoy, so we just haven't bothered playing it. So for all that, most of the stuff is things that I don't think are that great, but just kind of good, just kind of good games. So for Peter Lee, I would give him a C.
I gave him a whopping old D.
D? Well, I don't know about that. I think we will bump up to C, and you can have the next bump next time. Yeah.
What? Sure.
I don't think Peter Lee deserves a C, or a D. A D. For Lords of Waterdeep, it touched so many people.
Not me.
Not you. So you get a D. Next is Jay Cormier, the maker of the best hidden movement game, even better than For Your Dracula, even though I have a love for Your Dracula, Mind Management. Mind Management, it's just a brilliant game, and it's just a hell of a lot of fun. And even that extra little bits that you add on at the end, depending on who wins and who loses, and those packs you open up, it's sort of almost like a campaign game, but I don't have to remember any stupid story. It's really well done. I think you really like it too, eh?
I love it.
Mind Management's really well done.
Like, it was one of those games where I think the box was like, this is huge.
It was a big box.
Artists and like cool, and
I
didn't really get like the intention behind it upon just like hearing the description of it. But I found playing it as like, wow, it's one of those games. I think it's a lot of games like that too. But when someone tells you what the game is, they describe it to you, you're like, that doesn't really sound appealing. But then it is fantastic to play. It's so well executed. And the thing is, like, all those types of games, I'm concerned about whether or not it's replayable. Like, if you play it second, third time, I feel like it's the same thing. But I feel like every time I play it, it's not like it feels brand new, but it's still that good. It's still that good when how times to play it.
It really is. And like even his dexterity game is probably one of my favorite dexterity games. We're not big dexterity gamers. We have coconuts, and we have coconuts. And
Coconuts is fun for when you're drinking.
Yeah, and there's one other one we have. But I do think Junk Art is pretty fun. It's definitely one of those games that it like gets a lot of attention at the conventions, and it is fun to play. Hollow Mountain King, decent. Belfort, mid. Tortuga's pretty good. But all in all, I would give Jay a B. I give Jay a B.
I gave him an A+.
A+. There's no A+. All that for mind management?
Yes.
I'm gonna give a bump to the A because like his breadth of work is pretty cool, and you did get the new
Got you, Jay.
Bump. Yeah. She got you, Jay. And next is the king of collectible card games, Nate French. Seriously, if you have played any collectible card game, especially one made by Fantasy Flight, it is 100% one made by this guy. He has made Lord of the Rings, the card game by them, the Arkham Horror card game, Marvel Champions, of course, Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is my favorite card game of all time. You will never play it, even though I love it, because it is so like, there's so much competition, there's so much conflict.
I haven't seen Game of Thrones or read the books or care about it.
Yeah. So you won't have as much love for it as I do. I think for all that, I give him a B. I'm not the biggest collectible card game fan, but I would never understate his impact.
You didn't give him a C for a card game?
No, I don't.
I gave him a D.
A D? What that? Why?
I don't like card games, and my very, very strong opinion is that card games are not board games.
Oh my God.
Hot take.
But dude, but board game is just an umbrella term. It's just an umbrella term. It encompasses many things, including card games.
So if I start drawing a comic book, you can call me a
but that's like saying like, oh, this game doesn't have a board, therefore it's not a board game.
Yes.
That's ridiculous.
That is literally the
definition. Tons of games in our collection that don't have an actual board. All right. Regardless, so there's something in between, so we're just gonna bump up B. We'll bump up to a C, I guess. Oh no, you said D, right?
Yeah.
Right,
yeah, C. C is in between.
All right.
B and D. C for card game.
Next is Alexander Pfister, the main man behind Great Western Trail with all its various permutations. Really, really good designer. Not somebody who makes a lot of games I enjoy, like Port Royale is decent. Broom Service I really love. I think that, I don't know, nobody talks about Broom Service, but I feel like it should be
Underrated.
like... It is underrated. Yeah, like it feels like it should be one of the definitive family games that people just own. Is it perfectly balanced? God, no. But it's just a cool mechanic, like that sort of push your luck. It's one of my favorite push your luck games, and I wish more people played it.
Good interaction, really good interaction between players.
Yeah, and it's like such a huge contrast between that and Great Western Trail. You would not think they were the same designers. His other games, though, you totally would, like things like Coal Baron, Mombasa. These are games that I can respect them for all the hodgepodge of mechanisms. I think that's kind of what he's known for, taking a bunch of mechanisms, just freaking jamming them all together. I give him the old C.
Wow.
Yeah.
I gave him an A.
C. Oh, why A?
Why A?
Yeah.
Between Great Western Trail and even Broom Service, we love both those games.
Yeah, both in our collection.
And Great Western Trail, specifically for us, that's a game that we actually crave and we'll pull out just because we want to play that particular game. True. And Broom Service is a game that whenever we group of 4 or so, we know that will go well. Yeah. Everyone's gonna love it, and it's fun, and it's competitive, but not too competitive. Mm-hmm. And I think for that reason, just having very different games that both really hit.
Well, it seemed like
he's a great designer.
Yeah, those seem like good enough reasons for me, and B seems like a pretty fair rating. Next is Simone Luciani. Really, really fantastic designer. The guy behind Zolkin, which is just a great game that everybody thought was going to be super gimmicky. When it came out, they saw those gears and like, oh, this is just a gimmicky bullshit.
It is freaking fantastic.
It is a really good game. And of course, he's one of those designers too, which he makes a lot of games with other designers. He doesn't have a lot of solo design. Same with Grand Aster Hotel, which we've already talked up and said how much we loved. Tiletum is it's hard to explain Tileton because it does seem like a game that should just be like an average, mediocre Euro game, but
it hits.
It hits pretty well. Like it's a solid game. Even Darwin's Journey, I wasn't the biggest fan of Darwin's Journey, but I could respect the design behind it. He is somebody who always employs something new and something creative in all his designs, and they never really feel like his previous work, especially like some Voyages of Marco Polo.
Is it me, or does all his games feel like historical, like educational games?
Yeah, I guess he does have that theme, like, Voyages of Marco Polo.
It's all like different like places, like Tileton, Australia, like, you know, like
there's always a bit of traveling.
and Tolkien too, like Lions, like it just feels like, I don't know. I really like. I don't know if there's a very clear style across all the
Yeah, I think so.
but there is, I think, a trend.
Yeah, like I don't think he has any like fantasy games, like even Nucleum.
Thank God.
Well, I like fantasy games.
I do love fantasy games sometimes, but I think some people just, that's all their games are.
Well, yeah, sometimes. But yeah, he was a designer that I'm very happy to give an A to. He's great. He's great.
And to me, he's a superstar, so he gets an S.
An S?
An S.
So there's no difference. You know what? I think.
No difference.
No, I've said that there's nothing in between it. I think S is pretty fair. Yeah.
I know.
Because I struggled. I was like, look, he's an A. Oh, maybe he's an S. So we'll stick him an S. It's a good spot. Next is Phil Walker Harding, a man who primarily makes sort of like family approachable games. To me, a lot of his games feel like games that you play like once or twice, and then you just never think about it ever again. Like Gizmos is fine. Sushi Go, we actually prefer Sushi Roll, but of course that's just a derivative to Sushi Go. Sushi Go is a very good party game. I would say that's probably his best game. Imhotep, I thought was really basic, and the action selection, the actions behind it, kind of brainless. Same with Cacao, which is probably, I don't want to say his heavier game, but I think it's one of his heavier games, even though it's still pretty light and medium. He's a designer that I'm not particularly fond of.
But we're talking about the Hall of Fame here. We're talking about the best of the best. And I don't know if his contributions are that good.
They're not to me.
And that great.
That's why I give him a D.
I gave him a C because I'm not as cruel. But I kind of, based on your explanation, I do kind of think maybe he should be a D.
Yeah, let's bump him down to a D.
It's still fun games, but just they're so light and just not.
None of his games are games that I crave. None of the games are games that I love. They're just kind of games that if somebody mentions them, I'd be like, I guess. And up next is the Seven Wonders man, Antoine Bauza. I know it's probably not fair to just typify it or just group him as just the Seven Wonders guy, but I think that's what he is known for.
Seven Wonders.
That's right. Seven Wonders, of course, like
Everyone's heard of it.
Yeah, it's like super huge. It's one of like the gateway games. One of the biggest contributions to the hobby, obviously. Even Ghost Stories. Ghost Stories is really well loved. I don't think you definitely wouldn't like it because it's one of those like very punishing cooperative games.
I don't like Ghost either, so
there you go. It's got Ghost and it's punishing. Kim doesn't want it, but I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but a lot of people love it. Things like Takinoko. Takinoko to me is like it's definitely it's a family game that has a lot of presence. People see that cute little panda and they go apeshit.
I love pandas.
Yeah,
it's still to me like a mid game.
It's pretty mid. For all that, I give him the old C.
I also give him a C. Okay. I think Seven Wonders was definitely like his best, my favorite game out of the ones that he's done. Hanabi was good, not great. Takenoko, I can't even say it was good.
It's okay. Yeah.
So, for me, it wasn't that good.
Yeah. So from us, he gets a shared C. And next, the fathers behind the ever-loved Splotter games, JD and JW. I won't try to pronounce the names. The last combination that I've made, Shem Phillips and the other, and McDonald were the last one. These two make perfect sense to put together because I think all of their games are made together, all from the exact same company. Food Chain Magnate is, of course, a game that you and I love. It is a brilliant game. These guys are like the kings of like the super heavy, long 3-4 hour games. But I'm pretty damn sure you would like a lot of their other games. Indonesia is really great.
The country?
Yeah, that's right. Antiquity is really good. This like civilization style game. It's a lot of fun. Like even Roads and Boats. These are games that we should probably get a hold of because I think you really enjoy them.
I think so too. Well, it says a lot about me liking all these 3-4 hour long games. Like Fuji Magnet, the only one on theirs I played. Upon I think the second game, it immediately stopped to like top 3 games for me. I don't know if it's top 10 or top 20, but upon playing the first couple times, I immediately knew like it was gonna be up there. It's that good. Yeah. It doesn't help that I'm undefeated in that game.
That is true. But yeah, like they make those types of games that like their games are not everybody's cup of tea. They're games that are like you're gonna love or you're gonna hate. There was such a long period of time in my early board game career where I just didn't touch any of their games because I just couldn't afford them. Splatter Games is sort of infamous. Yeah, Splatter Games is kind of infamous for they make games that cost a hell of a lot of money, and it's not because of the components or anything. It's just because I think the company consists of just those 2 guys.
Maybe I'm sure it's R&D too, because like if you spend like hundreds of hours developing,
of course, you're not just paying for components. I understand that, but like
you're paying for the debt they go into.
Exactly. But as a student, seeing like Food Chain Magnate and being like, I want to buy that, and realizing, oh shit, it's $100. I could get 3 other games for that. Splatter, if you're watching, you could send us all your games. You could send them for free. For now, I gave them an A.
Yeah. I also give them an A. And from just the one game I played of theirs, I was debating with them in an S tier.
Oh.
Like, that one game to me is
it's so different.
So
it feels so
good.
Nothing feels like Food Chain Magnate. Nothing.
And there are a handful of games that I feel like the same way about that. This one game is so good that it's the kind of thing where I think you'll need to make one game in your career and then call it like this is my life's work.
Yeah.
The end.
They're 2 designers that I'm always kind of looking forward to their next release. So hopefully we can get our hands on some of their other games and we can give them a test run.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that.
And next is Matt Leacock, the Pandemic Man. This is going to be a little controversial. Kim hasn't played this game, so it's just going to be solely my ranking, which is not going to end well for Matt, because I don't like Pandemic. I did for a while. I completely respect it and the amount of good it's done for the hobby. And I'm sure, like, if you asked, like, a bunch of people playing games today, they'd be like, oh yeah, Pandemic is my gateway game, because this thing was ubiquitous. It was in homes just all across everywhere.
During the pandemic.
well, no, it predates that by a long shot, but I'm sure it became a pretty popular game during that time too. Yeah. But like Forbidden Desert, Forbidden Island, these games are boring. They're definitely good games again to whip out at a cafe. You've actually, you know what? I think you have played Forbidden Desert. Very simple, very boring.
I have to defend myself. To be fair, every single year I feel like I play hundreds of games.
I bombard her.
And so, more than half of them are new games. And so when I leave reviews or comment or something, or even if we just talk about designer and he enters a game, I'm like, oh, I remember the game, even if I say it only once. And if you remember the game only playing it once, you know something about the game was special.
Yeah, the good thing about this channel is that you get an opinion from somebody who's been in the industry, not in the industry.
In the industry?
No. I just meant I've been playing games for a really, really long time.
He's been a consumer in the industry.
I'm an insider. I buy shit.
You spent so much money on this.
No, it's somebody who's been game for a really long time, whereas someone like yourself who hasn't been game very long, you get a good contrast of opinion.
Excuse me, speak for yourself. I've been playing Monopoly since I was a child.
That's true. But yeah, I give Matt the D, unfortunately. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of cooperative games. I don't really like Pandemic. It's certainly not one of my favorites.
You like co-op games way more than I do.
I do. Yeah, they're not games that I automatically gravitate towards. And like Roll Through the Ages is sort of like a bastardization of Through the Ages. I'm not down with that.
We like the dice for most games, but not this one.
Yeah, so he gets a D. Sorry, Matt. Next is Daniele Tascini. We don't have to go into too much detail about his games. He's a team-up designer. Most of his team-ups were with Simone. Those are all the games that we really love. The only one I could think of that wasn't with him was the City of Gods, which I didn't like at all. We don't have to go into too much detail because we kind of covered all these games before. So I'll just jump straight to the rating and give him a B.
I gave him an A because to me he is like one level below Simone. Just because all the games that he's made with someone else,
true.
I have loved, like really loved.
Yeah.
So I can't put him in the same tier because even though he works with some other people, there is no individual contribution that makes him to the same level. And you can't just get a winning flag just from being on the same team. You have to have your own something going for yourself.
Well, I think bumping him up to an A is pretty fair then. Or no, would you put him at?
A.
A?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sure. Bumping up to an A is pretty fair. Because like I said at the beginning, it's hard to tell like who contributes to what for some of these games, and we do love these games.
Maybe it was him. Maybe it was him.
It actually might be. He might be the master at it. Simone might be like a lazy guy in the corner just being like, just put my name on. I don't give a shit.
Or one of them could be throwing the money.
I don't know. We're just going to assume 50-50 contribution. So yeah,
You have to.
he's got to be an A. Yeah, that's fair. And next is yet another grandfather of Ameritrash games, Kevin Wilson. Kevin Wilson, like I said, he's one of these games who are on all the older Ameritrash games. Game of Thrones, the board games, Star Wars Imperial Assault, Descent. He makes these types of games that just tell a wicked story. Unfortunately, a lot of like Ameritrash games, I don't know if you would like. Do you know what I mean when I say Ameritrash?
Yes.
Yeah. Sort of like very theme heavy, like less mechanic focused and more
I
theme.
like a lot of interesting games, but it just depends on the theme.
Yeah.
If I don't like the theme, why would I like this game?
Yeah. Obviously, I was also behind Fury of Dracula, the remake, not the original edition. One of these designers who takes like existing IPs like Civilization. He made the best Civilization variant or board game. And he takes these existing IPs and then he makes them into board games that everybody loves. Yeah, Kevin Wilson is an easy A. No competition here, so he gets an A. Next is Vito Lacerda, a designer who I think we might have played all of his games. Whenever his new games come out, we pounce on them and we take a look.
Pause. I think that in itself says a lot about whether or not we like his games. Like him as a designer, like his games.
Yeah, exactly. Like you at home, you're probably thinking like you probably have certain designers, like maybe 3 or 4 of them, where like you kind of pay attention to like, okay, what's your next release? Yeah, okay, this, I'm playing that. Yeah.
Like immediately trying it.
Yeah, exactly. Not all of them hit. Like you haven't tried Evolution of Ideas yet. I actually did a tutorial for that. So if you want to know how to play it, you can check that out. But that was probably his weakest, I think. But games like On Mars is really good. I love that sort of jumping from going from Mars into Earth and getting different resources. The Gallerist, Gallerist is probably my favorite.
Mine too.
Is it? Okay.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, I love like attracting people to your gallery and like promoting the artist.
I think the whole theme of that game, the whole design of it, that is fantastic. Who even thinks of like, oh, I mean, I don't mind going to art gallery once in a while. It's not my favorite pastime, really. Not really. Never been my dream. But playing that game makes all of those like actions so much more fun.
Yeah.
Which to me is, I don't know, hallmark of a fantastic game where you can really feel immersed in that world and it makes something that you normally would not be interested in so much more interesting.
And it helps make the rules too a bit more intuitive because you're like, okay, that kind of makes sense. And we do really love that, like, even though his games are like standard Euro games, he does his absolute best to incorporate the theme as best he can. And sometimes that hits, sometimes it misses, but most of the time I would say it hits. So we're talking a lot here, but I funny feeling we're gonna have the exact same feeling on the game, which is an S.
Superhero standards.
I don't know about superhero. But he's a handsome Portuguese devil, though.
He's legendary.
Yeah, we'll give him an S. Next is Richard Borg, the man responsible for one of the best 2-player light wargame combat systems ever devised, I think. Next to Undaunted, I suppose, these days. It's all the same system, and he tweaks it a little between the games. Kim hasn't played it in them because I didn't introduce them to her because I don't think she'd enjoy it because it is just direct. It's just a wargame. It's a wargame. My favorite is Command & Colors Agents, I think that is the one that has the most depth, and it's, to me, a lot more interesting than Memoir. Aside from putting all those friggin' stickers on all those wooden blocks, that is a bloody nightmare. But yeah, he's a great designer, but somebody that I think I would still put in a B. And the reason I put him a B is that when I think of his other games like Hera and Zeus and Liar's Dice, I think they're both bad games. I don't like either of them. So I'm pretty much just giving him a B based on the fact that it's only the one system that I really appreciate, and I kind of look at all those games as pretty much the same game. So, but yeah, I think B is pretty fair. Next is Ryan Lockett, a designer who not only designs his own games but does the art for all his games, which I sort of love and hate. I think it's really respectable and cool, but at the same time, like I kind of like when there's a different artist for different games so that they feel completely different. But that's neither here nor there. A lot of his games feel a little samey to me, like Sleeping Gods, Near and Far, Above and Below. Above and Below, one of his campaign games, which just felt like this really basic worker placement game with like slight variations between plays as the campaign progresses. I didn't think it was particularly good. The only game that I actually enjoyed a decent amount was Creature Caravan, which I've been playing on Tabletop Simulator just to get ready for the end of year tier list. Hopefully we can review a physical copy of that game. I don't know what you feel about his games. Have you played any of his games?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Or maybe I have, and
I think you've played Near and Far. Maybe Islebound. I think you played Islebound.
but not memorable.
They're kind of, to us, I'm kind of describing a lot of his games to me, forgettable. I know he is super loved in the industry, like, for good, and I understand why.
Everyone loves their own stuff.
His games are charming. I will say that. Like, all the games that I have played of his, they are charming, but they're just not, they're not amazing. Like I said, I like Creature Caravan, but that's not enough to bring him above a C. So he'll be getting a C. C for me. Next is Michael Kiesling, a man who I think does drafting games really, really well. Two of my favorite games of his are Azul and Vikings. Azul, one of sort of those instant classics. Sadly, it's become a game that I don't think we ever crave playing at all.
Well, we'll always keep it on collection, but I think this always new game, so it's really hard.
Like, we're playing Harmonies now, and that sort of bumped Azul out for us because it employs some of the same mechanisms, and it's an abstract game. So Tikal and Tories, I already talked about them. Quality games. Vikings doesn't get enough love. I've had Vikings in my collection. It is among some of the older games in my collection that I will never get rid of, ever. I think it is one of the best 3-player games that's somewhat light that I love to introduce to new people. It's like a little drafting game where you draft both your pirate and you draft the tile associated with your pirate, and then you're not pirate, sorry, Viking. Obviously the game's called Vikings, and then you bring it on your own tableau. I think it's clever. I think it's quick. I love the rondelle. I don't know, you've played it a few times, but I don't know if you like it as much as I did. Probably not.
I like it fine. I think there's some games when you pull out getting in because you love them that I complain. I'm like, oh, this again? Yeah. But I don't feel this way about any of his games.
Okay.
Never with Azul, never with Vikings. And I think, I don't know what that says, but there's some games that you just don't get bored of.
Yeah.
And some games that you do get bored of really quickly. And it's really hard to really always articulate them, what to pinpoint which ones. You just know when, you see the game coming at you.
You see the box art.
You're still a little excited to play versus being like, oh,
You see that disgruntled Viking and you know what's coming. It's a B.
I don't know what I gave him. I forgot. I also gave him a B.
That works out. All right.
It's middle of the pack.
Yeah. Well, good. No, B is probably higher than middle of the pack. Middle of the pack, I would say, is C. C is kind of what I think of as just like average.
A, B, C.
Yeah, I get it. All right.
Middle.
He gets a B. Next is James Niffen, a man who teams up a lot in his designs, usually typically with a lot of Fantasy Flight games, especially a lot of their early stuff, things like Forbidden Stars, Star Wars Armada. I think his solo work was like the Civilization game, which I think is the weaker of the two Civilization games, in my opinion. And New Angeles, which I thought sucked. I didn't think it was a very good game at all. He's not a designer that speaks to me and my taste. Oh, Twilight Inscription. I thought was pretty decent.
Only game that I liked.
Yeah. I think it's pretty cool in a grand endeavor to take something like Twilight Imperium and try to turn it into a roll and write. Yeah, I don't know if it captured Twilight Imperium, but it was like, and man, when you looked at it, when you first saw it, there's so much shit just like on a page. It was like, what is all this? I thought this one was pretty good. Regardless, I don't know why I get a last minute talk up because I gave him a D.
I gave him a C.
You gave him a C?
Because I feel that, I love roll and writes, and I felt like he did roll and write pretty well, and I feel that to me is a significant contribution to
okay. And I have a few fond memories of Forbidden Stars. Like I played it a few times with friends and they really loved it. So let's give him a C. C's fair. And last but certainly not least, the man, the myth, the legend, Richard Garfield, the maker of Magic the Gathering, a game that has kept comic book stores and game stores in business for well over a decade.
That's not a board game.
Fine. Yes, fine. Not a board game. But a game that I have very fond memories of in my little geeky days playing Magic the Gathering and, collecting them all and being really pissed about every pack I opened not containing the cards that I wanted. It's a game that I don't play much anymore, simply because I think I've just been priced out. Like my buddy Andrew, he loves it. And whenever I play with him, he always has a deck that'll just cost like $1,000 or something. Meanwhile, I'm coming to him with a deck that I just built because I thought it was thematic and cool. I'm like, this one has werewolves. It cost me $10. And then I lose. But yeah, and of course, King of Tokyo. I think you really like King of Tokyo, right? No?
I don't know.
Really good Friday
I don't even know if I like it or not. It's just become like
play it so
a
much.
household staple.
It has.
It's kind of a classic. Like I think we played it like the very first time we played board games together. We played it with some of my like old roommates and friends, and we played that game. And since it's become like a staple, we always pull out whenever we have a bigger group.
Yeah, but it's one of those games too. Like if you have people who are not sure if they like board games, you kind of test the waters with King of Tokyo because it's a board game, but at the same time it's like it's a little wild, like it's a little crazy. And it has a mechanic that's pretty familiar to a lot of people through the Yahtzee rolling the dice thing, and chunking dice, and you get to attack people. It's just good, solid fun. And even his other games like Treasure Hunter's not very good. Robo Rally. Robo Rally is a classic. I love Robo Rally. I wish I wouldn't have got rid of it. He's a great designer. To me, he's a pretty easy A. A lot of his games, I guess I wouldn't put him in S because I feel like I'd be exercising a bit of nostalgia. But even Android Netrunner is also a brilliant game. Maybe I should have given him an S. Now I'm conflicted. What'd you give him?
C.
Wow, you rate Richard Garfield a C?
I don't care for Magic, and I also find King of Tokyo okay.
Oh my lord!
Good.
Now I wish I would have said S so I could like bump him up to an A. I wasn't playing a good meta game here, and I have no whatchamacallsums left.
You?
Veto. I have no vetoes left.
I can use my own veto.
Do not use a veto to bump Richard Garfield down to a C.
I will use my veto to move it up to an A.
Why would you do that?
For you.
Aww. I'll allow it. All right.
I mean, I feel like as much as it pains me to say this, you have more experience in playing all these games, and you have, in your opinion, for this particular individual, matters.
He's made a lot of people happy. Like this guy, like just Magic the Gathering alone.
So I'm vetoing my own thing for having him to see it.
What an act of kindness we've been bestowed. All right, he gets an A. And that wraps it up for today. That is the top 50, or I think maybe it was 52 designers, all tier ranked, battle tier ranked. You want to take one final look at our boards? That's the final look where everybody lays. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. Let us know in the comment section if this was a format that you thought was entertaining. It was pretty hectic. I loved this. This is a pain in the ass. Cut out all these guys and finding pictures of them and printing them over at Staples. It was a bit of a work, but yeah, that was fun. I had a lot of fun with this list. So hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, hit like, hit subscribe, and let us know in the comment section. We will see you in the next.
I actually want to know in the comments who your heart.
Oh yeah, that's a good question. Yeah.
So, we both have one particular designer each, which wasn't Garfield for you, so I'm not sure why I gave you the veto.
It's true.
That is kind of our ride or die. Most their games have contributed the most to us individually. So who was yours?
Yeah, the kind of designer you would just maybe even just blind buy their games. Like, yeah, okay, give it to me. I'll figure out what the game is when I'm playing it. Yeah, let us know in the comment section. That is all for today, guys. See you in the next one. Peace.